this is Montessa Young with the University of Idaho, Washington County Extension. This presentation is going to be about filtration, pressure, and flow for drip irrigation. So the first thing to consider when designing a drip irrigation system is your water source. Are you going to be using domestic water, maybe from city water, a hose bib on the side of your house, or a frost-free line? Are you going to be using irrigation water, pumped from a ditch or a shallow well, or irrigation delivered water through a ditch or pipe? So one of the reasons we need to think about our water source is thinking about the economics, the supply of that water, and the cleanliness. So your first design consideration should be backflow prevention. So backflow devices prevent contaminated water from entering into your drinking water supply. And you may not think that your garden contains many contaminants, but if you think about the fertilizer, the soil, the bacteria and fungi around the plants, maybe even animal waste that would end up in next to your garden, if your water supply quit, the backflow either from the well or even the public supply can actually suck water back through the pipes and into your drinking water supply. We need to prevent that. One example of a backflow prevention device is the double check assembly shown in the picture. This is usually what's required for many municipalities. Many of your hose bibs on the outside of your house will have a backflow prevention device, usually just a vacuum breaker like the one showed in the bottom picture. These are recommended even though they can be quite expensive. So let's talk about your filtration options. If you are on a well or using city water, you can probably get away with just a hose-in filter. And those run about $15. If you are using pond water that is fairly clean or irrigation ditch water that is fairly clean, you could probably get away with just using a disc filter, which is shown in the picture in the upper right. It's just a filter that contains a stack of fiber discs that it's easy to clean and take apart. Those disc filters run about $60. Now if you have dirty pond water or ditch water with a lot of sediment and weed seed in it, then you may have to move up to a sand filter. This is what's used in commercial drip irrigation. They do make homeowner sizes. So a sand filter for a fairly good sized garden is going to cost you about $400. And these are cleaned by backwashing. So if you look at the picture on the right hand side, you have a coarse sand and rocks and water, and as the water bubbles up through the sand and rocks, it removes the sediment from that water. So that's how a sand filter works. So here's a picture of a hose-in filter. As you can tell, it's a little bit dirty. It's been out in my garden and been used. So on one end it hooks up to the hose, and then it has those threads on the opposite side. The screen in the middle is made out of a fine mesh. You can also get these in a stainless steel screen, which I'd recommend if you have hard water. It's easier to clean them by sticking them in a little bit of vinegar or CLR if you have a metal screen. These hose-in filters also come with a clean out on the bottom, so you can just unscrew the bottom without having to unhook them from the system to wash them out. So let's talk about your flow rate and your pressure. So flow rate is how much water you have available. This is fairly easy to measure. Get a 5-gallon bucket, turn your water on at its full rate, time that for 1 minute, and how many ever gallons you have in that bucket is your gallons per minute rating. One thing nice about drip systems is they can operate on low pressure and low volume. To measure pressure, you actually have to get a pressure measurement device, a pressure gauge, and hook it onto your system to see how much pressure you have. If you don't have very low pressure, you will need a pressure regulator on your system. So in the bottom right hand corner is an example of a pressure regulator. These usually cost about $7 to $15, and they keep the pressure lower. Drip operates at a very low pressure. If you don't put a pressure regulator on, if you turn your faucet on real quick onto high, you will pop some of your connections loose. So the pressure regulator helps with system maintenance.